It's a bit cold and windy today, but this is Barclay Dock, Barrow-in-Furness, and there once was a time when ships like this would have lined the quayside, this three-masted bark or whatever it is. Ships like that would have once lined the quays here back in the day when it was a thriving iron and steel port. And just over here we've got some wind farm supply vessels just next to More Reasons, which was built a few years ago. Another little interesting boat just down here. Don't know what it is. Rescue zone, sea wind. Yeah. So this huge vast dock was created mainly around the export of iron ore and iron products from Barrow-in-Furness ironworks and steelworks. So this is just a little slip road that comes off Michelson Road Bridge, comes down, and there's Poppet all dressed up. Now it's got this sort of interesting brick panelled walling, which is sort of Victorian in my mind. And just over here, there's these two curiously shaped rocks. Yep. See how beautifully they're fitted round that cornerstone. In both instances, you know, that's craftsmanship. What I think these were for is to throw the wheels of horse and carriages to make sure the big diameter wheels didn't sort of graunch against the curb or the stonework, especially turning around this column onto Hindpool Road. So yeah, just a sad little what do you call it, stone masonry detail, but it's sort of interest. And there's the old chapel over there, and now there's the ambulance station, and from what I can work out, cars going by. It's round about over there, I think, where Mule Street used to come down before it got bombed out during the war. Somewhere over there. And there's Craven House. Now, just a minute ago I called this Hindpool Road, but obviously that's its official name, the Strand. How silly of me not to have known that. So this is Michelson Road Bridge, and just underneath there's all these arches. And again, there's these turning stones just underneath these lovely columns. Underneath the bridge now, and we've got this beautiful recessed sort of corniche. Is that the right word? Cornice. Not sure. And then just next door, spooky arches. Ah, it's spooky in there.
We've got some cobbles there.
Cobbles? Oh, well spotted, Poppet, yeah. You see that cobble flooring? And this dark and gloomy archway. Yeah. Spooky though. I'm pretty sure that says Hardy Street. And that's just down here near Michelson Road Bridge start. The arches underneath. And under the bridge there is that grilled enclosure that we just looked through before. And then this is at the foot of a street called Barrow Street. Was it Burlington Street? Right, well we'll prove that when we get to the top and up to the nameplate.
It's not Barrow Street, because I used to live in Barrow Street.
Right, it must be Burlington, yes, Burlington Street. Absolutely. So just halfway up here, Barrow or Burlington Street, whichever one it is, I might have got it wrong again. You see this rubble structure with the brick on top. Now the rubble structure of course is really old structure, you know, back to the days perhaps when Barrow was just a fledgling town, or even back when it was a village. And it's got this brick built structure on top, but that structural interface of course, you know, denotes a certain time in history, you could say. And you can see all the archways up there. All the archways. This is the back of the old Law Courts Magistrates Office, and looking back down towards Hardy Street and the Strand. Yeah, we just checked on the sign, it's definitely Burlington Street. I was wrong when I said it was Barrow Street. Burlington it is. And here's one of those old night soil hatches with BC, Barrow Corporation, where a cart would come along in the olden days and empty out the pail of stuff, you know, night soil they used to call it. Just an old window archway over there blanked off, looking up towards top end of Duke Street. Poppet has just drawn my attention to this fabulous little drain cover. The self-locking Hayward Brothers Paintant, Union Street, Borough, London. That's obviously where the manufactory was that made these things. But yeah, I haven't seen one of these before. It's quite elegant, isn't it? Very elegant ironware on these downpipe straps. Very ornate. It definitely is Burlington Street. Now this is a little lane called Fisher Square. And what's interesting about it is these cobbles. Now you see how these, they're virtually, not virtually, they really are, just beach cobbles. So we'll maybe see a bit later where we get to the granite sets which towns were usually sort of paved with, but you can see these are just randoms picked up from the beach, and because they're still there, that infers that this is one of the earliest or very early street of Barrow Village as it was then, or fledgling town. And it goes down there, down to the Duke Street surgery. It's just a tiny little lane, you know, but... And there's something just interesting next door to this lane, which I just want to get on film as well. I keep getting this wrong. This is Fisher Yard, not Fisher Square. What the hell am I on about? Got it wrong again, Dad. But just next to this, and I've got permission to photograph in here, except the gate is locked today, just on the day, but over there, you see that? Rubble stonework and a fireplace. And because it's rubble stone, that means it's early structure, not brick built, you know, like it would have been in the early Victorian and such forth days. That fireplace, stone built, you know. I've yet to work out what was probably a domestic residence, but part of the fisher yard type complex, you know. So just here, on the end of the King's Arms building, again you can see that brick stonework interface, which intimates where old meets semi-modern. Just behind the Murrays, at the top end of Dalton Road, there's this structure with, and again, what belies the age of this is the fact that it's hip-roofed. And from this angle you can see three facets, you know, and it sort of puts me in mind of the Octagon magazine in Arkengarthdale, just the way it's got faceted structure, obviously to tie in with property boundaries. But again, I'd say that that's probably quite an old little structure, with the shipping door above. Probably would have had a yard arm out so they could lift up sacks of stuff or whatever it was, and the doors below, that kind of thing. So there's this quite elaborate bridge on Marsh Street. It supports Greengate Street above. The steps going up. The detailing is just quite elaborate. You know, these cast iron columns and motifs. It's all quite cool, really. And I was a bit worried of this this sort of fencing going up, whether they were doing some repairs to it or whether a bridge was going to come down. So that's what made me think I better record this in case something changes. And even these handrail stanchions, you know, quite ornate really. And just nearby, I'll swing around slowly so I don't make anyone giddy. Here's an example of what proper town cobbles look like. See, they're all rectangular and they sort of mesh nicely together. Unlike those beach cobbles, which I just filmed a little bit earlier in Fisher Yard. You see, these are sort of, you know, formal, laid out and proper, as it were. Here's another example of them. Just next to this set of steps which goes up to Greengate Street from Marsh Street. Again, just in my opinion, an elegant structure. Could do with a lick of paint, of course, but I reckon it's just cool. Alright, we're just going under the bridge now. It's, to be honest, a little bit spooky. Imagine this on a dark night with mists and fog. A subway experience. Yeah, another set of steps over there. Alright. And then just opposite and alongside this bridge is this old structure which I'm just, I don't know whether it's going to be destroyed, demolished or refurbished. But one interesting feature of these eaves boards, which are quite elaborate and detailed. Beginning to lose the light now.